Good evening, everyone, and welcome to My Fair Lady, the fourth selection in our mini-series, Hollywood's Finest Classic Musicals, directed by George Cukor, with Rex Harrison, Audrey Hepburn, Wilfrid Hyde White, and Stanley Holloway. The music was written by Alan J. Lerner and Frederick Loewe, and the choreography was created by Hanya Holm. The title of the film derives from the children's nursery rhyme, London Bridge is Falling Down, My Fair Lady. Lerner adopted the show from the 1956 hit Broadway show, which he and Loewe had also written, which in turn was inspired by George Bernard Shaw's 1916 play, Pygmalion. Many of Shaw's original lines were retained in this film version. Rodgers and Hammerstein had made an attempt at adopting Pygmalion as a musical, but they abandoned that project because they thought that Shavian dialogue and Higgins' emotionless character could not be successfully adapted to that format. Lerner and Loewe dealt with these issues by leaving Shaw's dialogue intact and assuming that Higgins should be played by a great actor, not a great singer. Warner Brothers bought the film rights to My Fair Lady for the unprecedented sum of $5.5 million, plus 40% of the gross over $20 million. Producer Jack Warner wasn't particularly keen on Rex Harrison, but he was able to hire him for only $2,000. This infuriated Harrison, who was aware that Warner had paid Audrey Hepburn $1 million. The stunning costumes and decor were designed by Cecil Beaton, and the film is noted for its famous black and white Ascot racing scene. My Fair Lady was shot entirely on Warner Brothers sound stages in Burbank, California. Stanley Holloway was the only member of the original cast who did his own singing. The film opened to great critical and financial success. It was nominated for 12 Oscars, won 8, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Actor, and it ranks number 8 on the American Film Institute's list of the 100 greatest musicals. Bosley Crowther of the New York Times wrote, "As Henry Higgins might have whooped, by George, I think they've got it." Richard L. Coe of the Washington Post said that Hepburn's casting was the film's basic flaw, describing her as recognizably exquisite, but not 21. Hepburn was actually 35 when she played 21-year-old Eliza. My Fair Lady was the highest-grossing movie of 1964, earning $72.7 million on an investment of only $1.7 million. At the time, this film was the most expensive movie ever filmed in the United States. Plot summary. My Fair Lady is set in 1912 London, where an arrogant bachelor, Professor Higgins, teaches phonetics and elocution. One evening, as he leaves the Royal Opera House, he stumbles on a poor flower girl, Eliza Doolittle, whose low-class Cockney accent has kept her from realizing her dream of working in a flower shop. She soon arrives on Higgins' doorstep, hoping to persuade him to give her speech lessons. When his friend and colleague, Colonel Pickering, challenges Higgins to transform Eliza into a genteel young lady with an upper-crust accent, Higgins cannot resist the bet. The two gents settle in to a comfy life in Higgins' household, where Eliza will be a live-in pupil for 6 months during her makeover, under the watchful eye of the stalwart housekeeper, Mrs. Pierce. In due course, Eliza completes her tutorial and emerges as a beautiful, genteel young lady suitable for the marriage market, but not much else. Will Eliza go on to work in that flower shop, marry a lovable ne'er-do-well, and depart from the Higgins household? Or will Higgins come to his senses and realize that he has at long last met his match? Fun facts about the film. Higgins is such a phonetics expert that he can easily deduce where the opera-goers were born just from listening to their accents. His gorgeous library is decorated with lovely William Morris wallpaper and beautiful wood paneling. The room was inspired by one in a French chateau. The Queen of Transylvania was played by real-life sometime actress and German aristocrat Baroness Bina von Goldschmidt-Rothschild, whom Beaton regarded as the only non-actress who had the breeding and gentility to play the part. Cukor had to help her prepare for it, and Beaton dressed her in a three-pronged tiara and three-tiered diamond necklace that he designed especially for her. Marni Nixon dubbed all of Hepburn's vocals except the brief reprise of Just You Wait near the end of the film. She also had to practice a Cockney accent to sing Eliza's songs. Harrison was not a trained singer, so he performed his vocals in an unusual style of sing-speak, known as Sprechstimme, an expressionistic vocal technique which is between speaking and singing, that he also used for his Broadway performance. He sang I've Grown Accustomed to Her Face to his third wife, Kay Kendall, who had recently died of leukemia. Cary Grant turned down the role of Higgins because he said his original speech pattern was much like Doolittle's. The marbles Higgins put in Eliza's mouth were actually grapes. The scene where she actually swallows a marble doesn't appear in Pygmalion. During rehearsals, Wendy Hiller gave a pained expression when she spat out for the marble she had in her mouth, saying, "Leslie, I've swallowed one," to which Leslie Howard replied, "Never mind, there are plenty more." This incident caused so much amusement to the observers that it was later added to the movie. Cecil Beaton created over 500 costumes for this movie and had the hats made by Paris milliner Paulette. Since the story takes place in 1912, the king in the fantasy sequence is Edward VII. When Eliza shows her his notations, but she can't read them, the figures are in visible speech, a phonetic notation system invented by Alexander Melville Bell, father of Alexander Graham Bell, used heavily by Henry Sweet, who probably inspired the Higgins character. The entire Ascot Gavotte sequence was filmed with everyone dressed in black, white, and gray, with the exception of one yellow hat and one red flower. Hepburn's entrance is so striking because of the total contrast of her brightly trimmed dress to the bland outfits of all the other ladies. Many of the Ascot Gavotte ladies are played by the same people who are in the I'm Getting Married in the Morning number. In the scene where Higgins knocks on a record player that is playing a recording of vowel sounds, the voice we hear is that of Dr. Peter Ladifogen, a linguist who was a consultant on this film. For the early parts of Eliza's transformation, for the duration of this film, Jack Warner prohibited Jeremy Brett, who plays Freddie, from going to the bench or hanging out outdoors because he wanted Brett to stay pale, like his character. The portrait on the wall of Higgins' study, facing left, is of the famous 19th century explorer, geographer, writer, translator, and Orientalist, Richard Francis Burton. The opera Faust was playing at the Royal Opera House on the night when Higgins meets Eliza. Higgins has a box with 4 mirrors on his desk. The same trick is used by the band Passion Pit in their 2009 video Sleepyhead. The movie credits for Shaw's play read, "From a play by Bernard Shaw," never mentioning Pygmalion. But My Fair Lady is the first British movie to use the word bloody in its dialogue, because this expletive was considered to be particularly vulgar. Things to look for. Cecil Beaton's amazing costumes, particularly for the Ascot race and the ballroom scenes. Lerner and Lowe's lovely score. Higgins' beautiful library with its lovely woodwork and William Morris wallpaper. The portrait of Richard Francis Burton on Higgins' study wall. A genuine aristocrat, Baroness Bina von Goldschmidt-Rothschild, playing the Queen of Transylvania. Hepburn actually singing her own vocal in Just You Wait. Harrison's unusual sing-speak style in his vocal numbers. Higgins' notes about Eliza written in the visual speech alphabet. Eliza swallowing grapes, not marbles, during her elocution lesson. The voice of Dr. Ladogod reciting vowel sounds on Higgins' recording machine, and Higgins' mirrored box. Now it's time to watch My Fair Lady. Sit back, settle down. Please remember it may take a few minutes for the film to roll. Enjoy.